Dr. Aino is President, Africa Fintech Network. But for many, many years ago, we knew him as President, Chairman of Council, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, before he became Fintech. Let me also welcome Dr. Mrs. Dere Awoshika, MFR, MNI. Mrs. Awoshika, as you all well know, today wears the cap of Chairman Access Bank PLC. But before, she wears several big caps that we all know in this country. We thank God for her life, for her contribution to the health sector, and now she is in banking, helping us to sort out our banks. Welcome, ma'am. Of course, we have Dr. John Momon, OON. Again, someone who needs no elaborate introduction. Chairman, Channels Media Group, and also, I understand, is the president of University of Lagos Alumni Association. One thing I admire about him, I'm not sure he even knows me or knows that I admire him, is that he allows his media organization to run. He doesn't throw his person into it. You don't see them carrying his picture every day, featuring. He stays back and allows the young guys he had empowered. You can see how those boys had grown in knowledge, in capacity, in courage. So please give him another round of applause. The next gentleman is someone I've known several years ago. He used to be a banker, but he's now in capital market and capital finance things. Mr. Adebraimo. He's the Group MD, Alpha Morgan Capital. When I knew him, he was one of the general managers of GTB, donkey years ago. So I'm in the midst of people we all know. These are successful professionals and successful entrepreneurs. So when they speak around these topics, they're not just talking about theory, they're speaking from practical experience. So I will urge you to listen carefully and take notes so that after the round of discussion, then you can ask your questions and make your comment. As I said before we went for break, each speaker would have like 20 minutes to make presentation so that we can have ample time to come back to them, and they can also have ample time to elaborate on their point. So as it is listed here, I'd like to start with Dr. Segun Aino, a man who wears many caps actually, to take us through his thoughts on the topic Fintech in relation to innovation and entrepreneurship in disruptive times. Kindly put your hands together for Dr. Segun Aino, OFR.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, the chairman, for the introduction. I want to first of all start by congratulating the ULBS under the leadership of the very good Professor Abraham Shinubi for putting this together and for finding me to present at this first conference. I was asked to make a presentation on a subject matter that I know is affecting or will be affecting all of us, both as both on the demand and the supply side of the picture, which is fintech in relation to innovation and entrepreneurship in disruptive times. And I was told to do that in PowerPoint slides. So I prepared PowerPoint slides, but they are just for the records. A lot of things I will be saying will not even be in the PowerPoint slides. It's something that just illustrates some of the things that's happening, that's really relating them to real life, examples in terms of what those PowerPoint content, illustrate. So if you go to the content slide, is anybody here? I mean, who the person's changing who's controlling this? If you go to the content slide, can you? No, the next one. Just the next one. so that we can save time. The next slide. Okay. I mean, the period that just shows that I've been sharing my thoughts, based on some of the experiences that I've had in banking, in in the fintech space, and also as a serial investor in a lot of fintechs. But a lot of them have done very wonderful things that's affecting our lives today. And the paper and the presentations is in five sections. One talk about disruptive times, the other one opportunities in challenges, not opportunities and challenges, because I don't always like to treat them as separate issues. Opportunities and challenges, and the previous speaker, the keynote speaker that spoke earlier on, mentioned the fact that in every challenge there was opportunity. So I'm looking at it from the opportunities and the challenges, because when you have challenges, that's where creativity comes in. That's where innovation comes in, and that's why you can disrupt the environment. And of course, the fintech phenomenon and the role of ecosystem players. I will mention just a few of the ecosystem players that I'm closely affiliated with, and what they are doing and what we can all do to support this growth and make sure that it affects us in terms of innovation and and moving the nation forward. And of course, the conclusion. I just want to use this slide that is illustrating what we call the vocal environment. Can you go to the next slide? I would have loved to have the study myself so that I can control it. Next slide. The VUCA is something that was created in the 90s when, after the collapse of the socialist system. And it just illustrates the environment that we live in generally, in terms of the volatility, the uncertainty, the complex and ambiguous. The point I always say about this is that it's not only when something major happens that we live in disruptive times. Every day of our life, especially as business people, especially as creators and so on, we should always see every day as disruptive times. It's not only when you have COVID or when you have Ukrainian and Russia war that we are. In every aspect of life, there is disruption. And when there are disruption, it creates opportunities. You can be the disruptor and you can be the disruptor. So we need to see how within the environment that we are in, how we can be the disruptor. We're talking about Channels TV the other day. Look at Channels TV today. Each time I see, I think for the past maybe 20 years or so, they've been voted as the #1 television, in Nigeria. And how many years old is Channels TV compared to some of the other ones that are older? That means they have quickly disrupted that industry. And the only way they can continue to remain on top is by being ahead of the game. So in terms of disruption, in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship as an entrepreneur, even if you are #1 and you have done great things, if you do not disrupt yourself, if you don't disrupt your industry, you cannot remain #1. You want to see somebody else coming in. So that's just the illustration there. Let's go to the next slide. The next slide. You can move to the next slide. Why is it so taking some little time? Okay, this slide just shows the recent triggers of major disruption. Talking about the global financial crisis, I always say that global financial crisis, is cyclical. It comes in cycles. If you look at it between 7 and 10 years, you have some serious financial crisis that I mean, in my life, I've visited about 4. And some people have gained, some people have lost. So that means we should always be ready for disruption like that. And when you see those disruptions, there are winners and losers. Particularly if you look at the COVID pandemic, it has created entirely totally new players. It has created. Now you are moving too fast. So so it shows the losers and who are the okay. And who are the gainers? The gainers are those that have prepared themselves, especially those who are digitally transformed ahead of this, those who are prepared for disruptive time, those who are prepared to move ahead, those who are, created new things. And I always talk about the banking industry, for instance. In 2021 and even 2022, very few banks came out with very, very higher profit level. Only very few, but most of them had very, very much lower figures. And when you look at it, those that have digitally prepared themselves before COVID came were able to take advantage of COVID and were able to move their transaction away from the branches where people could not go. And the same thing happens in a lot of industries. New industries were created by people who are smart. In fact, some people told me that they made more money during those COVID periods that they ever made because they have prepared themselves for those kind of changes. And when you look at industries, because it's very important for us to know the contents of this disruption before we then know how fintech has come, to change the financial services industry and to not be a phenomenon that we are seeing today. If you look around the world globally, you see some industries that have been disrupted because people have come with new thinking. How can we best meet the requirements of individuals? How can we best serve them? And there is a few examples that have been mentioned there. Facebook, for instance, is the most popular media, but it doesn't own its own content. We are the one that gives Facebook the content, and they're using that content to make money. But some people cannot get off Facebook anytime. The same thing with a Zoom. It's the most patronized meeting venue, yet it has no room. Yet you have all your something. So those are disruptions caused by the presence of digital, internet, phone, and the same thing with Netflix. The same with WhatsApp, Uber, the largest accommodation provider, but it doesn't hold any real estate. Same thing with Airbnb. These are organizations that in the last 10 years or so have disrupted various sectors. And we always believe that when these things happen, there are opportunities in those disruptions with innovative mind and the entrepreneurial spirit. You will see the opportunities that are in those, and that is why if you look at the Forbes Forbes rich list that is published every year, between 2020 and 2021, the world produced the largest number of billionaires, on an annual basis than in previous years. And those are the years that we had COVID. That means people were able to take advantage of what is happening during the COVID period. So the total wealth of the world billionaire grew from $8.1 trillion to $13.1 trillion in a year that the year that people thought, oh, these are very, very bad years. This was a very bad year. Yet more people, and who are these people? Most of them are creators, innovators, of course, entrepreneurs who were able to take advantage of what was happening to be able to do great things. And the same thing goes for the most valuable companies in the world. If you look at, say, 20 years ago, and this year, 20 years ago, the most valuable companies in the world were companies that were into, oil and gas and banking, doing but with innovative mind, with digital, with ICT. Now discover that today, the emerging technology, the emerging companies are the ones that occupies the top 8. Until about a week or 2 weeks ago, it was Apple that was number one most value until the price of oil jumped up, and then Saudi Aramco became the most valuable company in the world. So 6 out of these companies are technology companies whose, apart from some of them that have been around for many years, who have just come up and they are doing great compared to what happened 20 years ago. So that is the shift in industry, which is also happening in our environment in Nigeria. We've seen a lot of new players, and we see the impact of fintech and the fintech entrepreneurs, the impact it has made in financial services, and the impact it has made, in our lives. Fintech is actually an acronym for financial technology. And many years ago, nobody even knew. I used to run the technology as an executive director in Ecobank, even though I'm just a pure banker, but I was given that role. And then I also moved to another bank as CEO, and make sure that we use technology to change things. We created the result checker with the advent of mobile phone, where when you do your JAM, or like nowadays, if you do your JAM, you have to wait until the result is sent to you, or you go and or you go to the WIC office and check on that. But we said, with the brilliant man that we have said, can't we do something about this? And they came up with a solution that initially transmits your result to you on your phone. That was in 2002, just a year after mobile phone came. And out of that, the bank created a company, which still exists today. I think it's now called Vertebra. They make billions and billions of naira in that kind of business. That was something that we did, and that led me to, immediately I retired in Germany, I created a company called Fintech Associates Limited. My sister nobody was saying, how did you come about that company? And I said, well, I've seen far ahead the linkages between financial and technology, and today it's an industry. It's a totally different industry, and it's going to transform, and it's been transforming, and it's going to transform the entire landscape of the financial services and even other services. This is just to show some of the definitions of fintech or what it means. And you can have the basic definition, or you can have the ecosystem definition. A lot of people think fintechs are just startups, small companies that are just, coming on certain, but no, but if you look at it from the ecosystem point of view, any organization that, uses their technology or digital as the backbone to do digital services is a fintech company. And that's why today, a lot of banks, we started with Goldman Sachs, for instance, in the US, and then the BBVA in Spain, I think Bank of America, they are not, and now in Nigeria, a lot of banks like GTB and so that they are a technology company or a software company or a fintech company with a banking license. And that there are platforms where, other companies can plug into and render their services to their customers. So fintech is redefining that space because of the challenges that have been seen. And what are those challenges? After the end of the financial crisis, people lost interest in the conventional banking system that caused a lot of panic and so on and so forth. And that created the impetus for young people, championed by Y Combinator, an accelerator company in the US in Silicon Valley, which pumped a lot of money, into some of these new companies. Some of them have become so big today. If you look at some of the what we call challenger banks or neo banks and so on, have become so big. Some of them are valued, hundreds of billions of dollars. So we have seen what that a disruption, has caused across the world. But I'm coming home to Nigeria. Many years ago, when a fintech company started up, maybe Flutterwave was established in 2016. OPay was established in 2018. Maybe the oldest of the fintech unicorns. And a unicorn is a company that has a valuation of more than $1 billion. It's called a unicorn in that space. Interswitch was set up in 2001, I think. It's the oldest of them. Well, 5 years ago, when fintech startups go to banks to offer them some of these services or to partner with them, they just treat them with scorn. Who are these small boys today? But today, any bank that does not recognize fintech as the main competitor that will hit their business, they are doing that at their own peril. And that's why banks are now even setting up their own fintech companies, buying over fintechs, and so on. So because we now have fintech companies that are more valuable than even the conventional banks. I mean, there are 3 fintech companies in Nigeria today that are unicorns: Interswitch, Flutterwave, OPay. Of course, there are other technology companies, or e-commerce companies like Andela and Jumia that are also unicorns. And to illustrate what I'm saying in terms of the power of innovation, the power of entrepreneurship, the power of disruption. If you look at this table, the market capitalization and valuation are 2 different things. But you can always, normally it would be wrong to interpret one for the other. But you can at least I can give a guide as to what those values are, because market capitalization actually is the number of your shares at the stock exchange multiplied by the price of those shares. Why market valuation is based on so many things, on so many other different things. But since most of these companies are not quoted, you may not be able to use that kind of valuation. But it gives a sense of the perception of the value of those companies. The most, according to the Nigerian NGX market, as 17, the most valued bank in the country today. I mean, the market capitalization is value is 851 billion naira. First Bank, that's 127 years old. is 413 billion in terms of market capitalization. Florida Wave is a 5-year-old company, and today it is valued $3 billion. Yes, you could say that there are bubbles now that is coming on in some of these valuations and so on across the world, but it does not take away from the fact that these people have created value that investors and players have seen in them. OPay was set up in 2018. And based on the funding they have raised and the kind of thing that they are doing, they may not be making the same profit that banks are making yet. But when you look at the future revenue flow, the way they have scaled and so on and so forth, people see value in this that, in the long run, they will be, so profitable that, they'll be doing more than the bank. And the same thing with InterSwitch. All this demonstrates the development in the fintech space, which has been made possible by entrepreneurs who are innovative, who are doing something different, who are doing things that, because what do people need? People don't care today whether you are a bank or whatever, as long as they are getting the services that they require at their convenience, bringing the services to them. In those days, the only way you can get the service to the bank is by going to the banking hall. Today, most of the banks are even closing those banking hall because they have now seen that you don't need to. The fintechs have taught us that you can do your transaction from your phone. And as we move ahead for the future, even the phone will become redundant in terms of how to have access, to your money. Before, it is the bank that tells you how and where to get your money. Now, it is in your hands. You determine, when to get the money and so on. And this has been made possible by people that have creative minds and have made sure that things are done in a way that provides value. Because what is important is what value are you giving to your consumers, and that's what we have seen. We have seen. And when we are talking about market leadership today, in the terms of financial services, we have fintech and the banks operate. The acronym that we used to have is, FUGA, the top 5 banks. But today, a lot of people, a lot of analysts are now looking at GOVIs, including OPay, into the space, including Florida Wave into the space, because they do virtually everything. And we have always, we actually believe that very soon, an institution called a bank may no longer be necessary. Even though banking and financial will still be necessary, but it can be offered by anyone. Fintechs are now being licensed by the central bank. Other places are now being licensed by the central bank. So you don't need to have that name, a bank, before you can render banking services. And that is what this sector that continues to dominate the financial services sector have taught us in terms of what they are doing. Of course, there are challenges that can inhibit this, and it's very important to bring this out, and that's why some of the things that we are doing are focused on those challenges. One is regulation. Of course, we've been everywhere in the world, innovation is always ahead of regulation. That is why it is innovation anyway, because some of these things the regulator cannot even but I know that our regulators in Nigeria today are trying to make sure that they have the right people with the right experience, that can determine, because it's always good, and what some of the things I tell regulators sometimes because normally a typical regulator is totally in Nigeria, when you go with a product that you want them to approve, if they don't understand it, they will just say no. They just say no straight away. But today we are seeing changes, and another thing we have been advocating is that if you don't understand this thing, invite the people that are involved, let them sit down with you, let them explain, and tell them your concern. My concern is depositors' protection. I want to protect the consumers. My concern as a capital market regulator is to protect the investors. So how do you want us to regulate you? And those kind of systems have really helped a lot in some other jurisdictions, and Nigeria, and want to give it to the central bank, SEC, National Insurance Commission, and so on. So for instance, Fintech Association of Nigeria had to approach the Securities and Exchange Commission that we need to do for them a fintech roadmap, which they accepted. And 3 years ago, that was done for them by the Securities and Nigeria, and that's what they are now rolling. And that's why you are seeing some of the creative things that the Securities and Exchange Commission is doing. The National Insurance Commission, we're talking to them for some years, but early this year, they now approached us to also try and come up with a set of guidelines and things that we do a roadmap for fintech and insurtech, because insurtech insurance technology in the Nigerian. So The challenges are being taken care of, particularly by industry operators like Fintech Association of Nigeria and some individuals that keep on talking to regulators. So we can have a much more robust system that is regulated in the right way, regulation that promotes and advances innovation and creativity. Because financial services is a regulated industry, and if the regulation is not right, it will stifle, innovation, and you can not see some of the benefits that we are looking at this. And of course, absence of large talent pool with appropriate skills. And this is a dilemma. It's a dilemma for us because in Nigeria, we always say that the rate of unemployment is high. Yet there are no people to be employed. I'm sure Dr. Alo is there. He's involved in HR recruitment and so on and so forth. He will tell you that when he gets requests from organizations for the kind of, if you can review 1,000 resumes, and you may not get 10 that really meet the people that you talk to. So it's a very, very serious problem, and that's why we need to know this, particularly as Lagos University of Lagos Business School, to see the opportunities for us in terms of preparing people for the place of one. Like the previous speaker said, it's not the degree that you have that determines whether you are fit. It is the skills and competencies that you have, and that's why some companies today even say that they don't even need any degree to be able to work. Just show us that you have the skills and that you can perform and that you can deliver. So we need to change the mindset from how many university graduates we have produced, how many MBAs we have produced, to how many people with the right skills that we are and it's not rocket science. Apart from the conventional way of learning, there are amongst massive online open courses that people can study and so on and so forth. So I'm saying here because a lot of us here are other entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs. We need to do our own little bit in making sure that some of this skill shortage, and today, so with some of those skills, it has even reduced the potential number of people that will migrate. I know young people today who have the right skills and they are sitting down in Lagos or in their villages and working for global companies abroad and making dollars. And what is the difference? Because they have acquired the right skills and competence. So it's very, very important for us. Otherwise, if you are setting up your businesses, you want to create businesses, you will not get the people that will deliver in the way you want it delivered. And of course, corporate governance is an issue in that sector, which also is being addressed. I don't want to mention the name of any company, but we've seen what happens in recent times in terms of some challenges of one of the fintech unicorns. These are things that have been addressed. So I'll just be concluding these remarks by saying that all of us in this room have the responsibility to make sure that Nigeria maximizes the opportunities available in fintech. And when I say Nigeria, I'm not creating a box in terms of your market. And that is one of the things that the fintech has shown us. It took years before any bank, and it took a lot of effort before any bank can say they want to go and establish outside of Nigeria. But with this fintech, within 2-3 years, you can tell you that they have operations in 10 countries. Even in Europe. So when you are creating a solution, solving a problem, don't solve a problem that's just local. Always think global. You can start local, you can be based local, but think global. Facebook, for instance, started from a Mark Zuckerberg who wanted to solve a problem within the university environment. We are all here in this university. How do we know? How do we connect? That was how they created Facebook. So if you can do this within the university, that means we can do it for the US. That means we can do it for the whole world. Today, almost 3 billion people are using Facebook as one of the most valued companies, in the world. So, Fintech Association of Nigeria was an association that was set up in 2017. I was so much involved in that as the initiator of that, and created this, and I was president up to a year ago when I handed over to Adebajomo, who's doing very, very well at Pajoso. The reason for bringing this is to show the power of ecosystem and self-regulation in anything that I would. For this, particularly in a space that is just emerging, you need market leaders that will help create that path for others, to follow. So to ensure the advancement and promotion of fintech and so on. And that's why we're happy that within the space of 5 years that the association was set up, it has made tremendous impact and have provided a very good playground for this organization to thrive. And I'm happy to say that today, over 200 corporate entities across 20 sectors. Most of the banks are members. All the four big consulting firms, KPMG, EY, all the four of them are members. Even international companies are members. Facebook, MasterCard, and so on and so forth. Even media. And the first media house to join really was Channel TV. Channel TV was the first media to join. And what did they do for us? I mean, they do anytime we are doing stuff, they take it free of charge. You know, we visit, we arrange interviews and so on and so forth. They have contributed a lot. So they are also a fintech player because they are playing their role of spreading the news, of educating the public in terms of the opportunities in fintech. So that just shows some of the role that we play. I've mentioned how we're able to deepen or create the roadmap for the capital market and also the insurance market. The next organization I will also mention, among others, is Opolo Global Innovation, because there is what we call incubation and acceleration. And all of us also have a role. I can't say how many minutes. Okay, yeah, I'm running up actually, just too much slides. You know, especially when you're talking about a university environment. We created this enterprise under 2 years ago. And what is it supposed to do? It's supposed to create a new set of Nigerians, a set of people that will be skilled and, you know, either going into working for themselves or going into employing institutions. And how do we do it? The major focus is on universities. Going to university campuses, create an environment where the young one can be challenged to do a lot of stuff. Within the year and a half that was set up, thanks to Bank of Industry for believing in the vision, we've set up innovation hubs in Obafemi University and Osun State University. We are going to be going into UI, ABU, and FUTA very, very soon. And what that has done is that, and within the 1 year, within the few months that we studied all this, we have seen a lot of incredible things coming up from the idea that these young people, you know, are called. But the most important thing is the fact that we're not only talking to students, we're also creating a platform for the researchers. Most researchers and lecturers just write theses to get promotion. But I'm saying that those theses can be conditions to be innovative and create a solution that solves societal challenges. And that is the focus that we are doing. And we started, the name is Opolo Global, because we know that our mandate is global. But we started from Nigeria. Today, I can tell you that, you know, we have a relationship with some of the best universities who have done this before, because it's not rocket science. These are things that I've done in Smololong, in the WIS University in South Africa, University of Cape Town, and these are the two top universities in Africa. We've signed a MOU with the University of Edinburgh, and they are putting our students and lecturers in those pipelines. University of Oxford University, London School of Storage, and you know, so within our little space as players, we can create that impact that ensure that we create a better Nigerian for a better Nigeria that's better than what, you know, we have seen. So those are the things that we are doing to promote entrepreneurship and drive innovation, particularly what we call research for innovation and commercialization to create enterprises. Because the university is the bedrock of all that. And lastly is the skill challenge. And I'm happy that the University of Lagos Business School is a worthy partner to the Fintech Institute, which is accelerating the speed of education, not only for the supply for the supply side in terms of innovation and so, but even for the demand side. A lot of people have their mobile phones and so on and so forth. That's why in the villages, but do they know how to use it? So when you are creating all these products, do they know how to use it? So that is what that organization is for. Just making some recommendations here to conclude on the presentation, to say that partnership and collaboration with local and global institutions to facilitate commercialization of fintech to empower innovators and entrepreneurs is very, very important. And that partnership can be, you know, done within people in the country and also within outside of the country. Because if you look at most of the successful fintechs, they are not started by only one person. You always see them co-founders, co-this and co-this, and maybe a team of 2 or 3 with different skills and network. So the power of collaboration is very important. ULBS and similar executive education business schools should be intentional on practical idea development and showcase MBA for your MBA and all your students. This should lead to creating new businesses and graduating entrepreneurial managers, not managers who are going to, not people who are going to be just managers to manage businesses, but people who are going to be entrepreneurs, people who are going to be able to create stuff for themselves. Issue of provision of local funding opportunity. Most of the, not most, all the unicorns that I mentioned are owned virtually by foreigners, because they were the ones that saw the opportunity. They were the ones that provided the funding, and they are the investors. So when these companies start to make money, the reward goes to them. So we need, as a country, to try to see how we can localize and domesticate the ownership of this company, so that we can get the full benefit. And lastly, understand the mindset of digital natives, the millennials, both as innovators, customers, employees, and employers. Very, very important for us. But also in the business schools and also in our businesses. The millennials today, and somebody, last speaker also mentioned it, they are thinking far ahead of us. And they are looking, and the world today also is thinking far ahead. Today, people talk about metaverse. It's coming up, but I'm not sure how many of us know the implication and impact of what is going to happen. And metaverse is like a digital universe that combines the use of technology, augmented reality, virtual reality, and so on. So, and the bank, JP Morgan, for instance, have predicted that estimated business opportunity in the metaverse will be about $1 trillion on the yearly basis, and they actually invested, in metaverse, like buying plots of land in a virtual world, And coming back home too, MTN Group recently also bought 144 plots in metaverse called Afri Land. So we need to be looking at what does this all portend for us in Nigeria and in Africa in terms of the next stage, because we had the old normal, we are now in the new normal, but what is the next normal? So we need to, as businessmen, also be looking at what is the next normal in terms of what is going to happen. And the metaverse, for instance, I read a report today, the potential global economic impact of the metaverse, and said that if adopted in 2022, over a 10-year period, there will be, about 3 trillion contribution to global GDP. That's about 2.3% of GDP. And for Africa, Africa has the chance of benefiting about $40 billion in terms of their contribution. So as we are looking at today, we should also be looking at the future. What does this emerging technology present for us, particularly for fintech development and all the other development that we are looking at as entrepreneurs who are to plan ahead. So let me stop at this point and to thank you very much for listening to this brief presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Aino. I didn't warn you that if we gave him the platform on fintech, we'll be here for the next 1 hour. Another round of applause for him, please. Our third speaker is Dr. Mrs. Dere Awoshika, MFR, MNI. As I mentioned casually when I was introducing her initially, she's had a very distinguished career in the public sector, designing policy for this country in the area of health. But today, she is the chairman of one of the leading banks, Access Bank Nigeria PLC. She's going to be talking to us on value creation in disruptive times, issues and way forward. Please put your hands together for her. She has 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Thanks very much, Professor Allo. I want to thank LBS for putting this up. I want to say it's very much needed. ULBS. I know you will say so. Okay, ULBS. ULBS. Stand corrected. Thank you very much for putting this up. And I do hope that you make things that we talk about here available, because the fraction of people in this room compared to the issues that we have to deal with. And even my brother has added more. Kept me so sober before coming on. I'm just so very sober and looking at where are we really. So I consult myself in the topic I've been given. I consulted myself and I said, okay, we are going to be looking at value creation in disruptive times, issues and way forward, especially in our own environment. Because listening to Dr. Aino, I think he was working with Facebook in the US, in Canada. We don't have structures in Nigeria. And you don't have systems without structures. And when we talk a lot about infrastructure, Prof, but we don't talk about structures. So I don't know what infrastructure or restructuring is in Nigeria when you don't have a structure that leads to the development of infrastructure, not to talk of restructuring. We're far away from the truth. So I'm going to have to speak on, I'll do a general introduction, the disruptive-led changing business landscape, the value creation in disruptive times, the value creation adaptation, and how we can adapt and move forward. So just talking about generally, I've expressed my gratitude. I thank you so much. I'm also delighted. I'm learning a lot coming here and sitting at that table. So it's a learning point for me also. As you heard from Professor Lowe, I'm just a public servant, choked into the banking sector. Clearly, we're in disruptive and uncertain times. We are, and we must accept it as a people. Uncertain times. We're in a very toxic environment, and toxicity destroys. So we need to look at the death knell that awaits businesses that fails to adapt, and the language and the speakings must be very clear. That is a death knell that awaits businesses who don't want to adopt and adapt business environment that has been disrupted, technology innovations and other factors. All of these are positive disruptions, but we are coping with both negative and the positive together. The biggest challenge facing business leaders, and business leaders are at different levels, is how to adapt to the rapidly changing business environment that is continuously disruptive while remaining value accretive. So, that's why I titled this paper, Creating Value in Disruptive Times. Is it possible? Yes, it is. We must have a positive mind and we must be able to drive it forward. The world is going through some form of rebalancing caused by varying degrees of disruptions and uncertainties within the various environments. This definitely places huge demands on leaders, and when I mean leaders, I don't talk about governmental leaders, every leader. Not only to find effective response mechanism, but also to create and sustain value. I wrote in my book there, what does it mean for the education sector? What does it mean for the health sector? What does it mean for infrastructure, power, and all of this? What does this mean? Are we looking at it? This makes the theme of the conference very, very key, and the need for us to speak to these issues, adopt and adapt and move forward. Adapting to business landscape in disruptive times. This landscape in Nigeria, as I said, is very toxic, but we have to move in our context. We don't have to wait for the toxicity to get so bad such that we are not able to do anything, it's dead. We don't want to get to that. So, disruption led changing business landscape. Somebody help me. Okay, I sent the slide earlier on. Okay. I sent it. Prof, I sent it to you. Okay. Disruption occurs when smaller and more agile, that's challengers, companies take the advantage of technological innovations and other disruptive elements to completely change the way industry works. Usually, I sent it. Okay, thank you. Usually, unencumbered by existing organizational structural rigidities. That's what I said in the first place. We have some structural rigidities, and they are more agile and leaner to disrupt the incumbent. If the incumbent fails to react in a proactive and efficient manner, it will face market share shrinking, undoubtedly. And in extreme cases, complete extinction. That's what we get in Nigeria in various companies. We don't want to affect our structure, and the structure must change. Whatever level you are in, you must be able to do that because it's a recipe for disaster. In the last 20 years, the business landscape has witnessed unprecedented changes and disruptions. There are technological innovations are altering the way consumers, industries, businesses operate. The business leaders are also being forced to adapt to the disruptive times. That's the big businesses, but we should do it across board. Then came the global COVID-19. I can say it categorically that if COVID-19 came to Nigeria and did not affect any other part of the world, we will not change our style. We will continue to look for drugs to cure it, whereas we can do something and still move on. But now we have been forced to do something. A good one, a very good one. That's why some companies can say we earned a lot. We earned a lot and we worked more efficiently, and we worked more in some of the companies that I am privileged to serve on. So COVID-19 pandemic leading to shutdowns, rapid adoption of digital services, supply chain disruptions, etc., continued geopolitical tensions across the globe. So we can't avoid it in Nigeria. Trade tensions between the US and China occurred. Tensions in the Middle East and Eastern Europe occurred. Even Nigeria, silently, there are tensions, I know, in the health sector that occurred between the industry because raw materials were not coming through. You forgot the chloroquine issue. We didn't have any chloroquine raw material in Nigeria, even though we're a malaria endemic place. Growing impact of the Russia-Ukraine war of attrition with possibility of a third world war in view. We may not like it, but these are analyses that have to be done so that we can be proactive going forward. So locally, we are facing structural uncertainty. I'm sorry I'm preaching so much structure here, because let's just look at individual. Look at your body. You have a form. You have a form. You have a head. You have a neck. You have ear. All of this. Even God Almighty created structure. Male or female, the structure is there. Before the system. Do you see my systems? Do you see your systems? You need to go and check your systems to be able to get it to work maximally. But I can see Dr. Aino as he stands up now. I can describe his form and his structure. But his structure remains a human being structure that cannot change. So we're facing structural uncertainty and disruptions to business landscape that can be amended with fintech disruptions to traditional business models All we need is to set our mind to do that. Otherwise, we'll be so theoretical, we'll be so far thinking that it's impossible to happen. We'll be looking at Canada to US to UK. Who says it cannot happen here? We need to fix our mind to use the fintech disruptions to our traditional business models. Nothing is wrong with our traditional business models. And I use the word model carefully. Model. A model adapts to a structure and it works with the system. Changes in consumer taste and behaviors, the regulatory uncertainty, the socio-economic uncertainty, oil prices, volatilities, rising inflation and unemployment, supply chain disruption, all these things are things that we can amend within our local way because they are heightening political tensions. We all talk about it, but it's the truth. Perhaps we all feel it now. I feel it. I don't know about Professor Alo. I don't know about my brother John. I don't know, Mr. Brahima. Do you feel the political tension? We laugh about it, but in our close moments, we wonder what will happen to us. Even though we are not politicians, it is about structure and systems. Security challenges are glaring to us. So beyond the disruptions caused by technological innovation, Nigerian business landscape is generally hostile and harsh. But first principles must be applied. No matter how small the business is, no matter how big the business is, principles don't change. Principles are principles. They are either first principles, second principles, third principles, but they are principles. The business environment is plagued with so many well-known challenges. Thank you. You can help me concentrate. The business environment is plagued with so many well-known challenges and weak macroeconomic fundamentals. We must accept it. The macroeconomy is weak. Can it be strong? Yes. Will it take long to be strong? No. We need to apply the principles. What are they? Poor power infrastructure, leading to collapse of many businesses, especially the MSMEs. It hurts people like me. I served as permanent secretary, Power. I was posted to the Ministry of Power, and I tell you in this room today, confidently so. The first thing I asked is, why did you post me there? I'm not an electrical engineer. And the head of service says, see who posted you. It's the president himself. I said, okay. So I got there. And I asked the ministers, what is the problem in this ministry? He said, do an independent survey. I tell you categorically what I've told the president then, and we used to have power task force, which the president chaired, and we meet every week. That's to tell you how the problem was. I did a survey, mine, through many other things. Flying in the air, micro aircraft, looking at things, and it's about the people. And the president asked me, why? What's the problem? Yes, you have just joined us, Power Task Force. You didn't say anything today. I said, my first meeting, sir. I'm listening. He said, no, say something. I said, two things I will say with great permission and humility. I have reviewed, and the cause of power is the people, not the system. Okay? The second one, I said, too many bosses. A will call you, you respond. B will call you, C will call you, D, everybody with different directives. I don't know who is the boss, sir. It's not a laughing matter, it's structure. People adhere to structure elsewhere. You can't just call anybody by anybody, give instructions. And the people are ready to work and do their work honestly for the benefit of all. So all of us are causing the toxic environment. I make bold to say that. We must be ready as a people to move positively to change structure and the system in which we work. And amazingly, we started doing that. In 6 months, not me, in 6 months, structure was made clear. President took action and said, these are the reporting structure, this is this. We took action in 6 months. We took the power from 1,762 to 4,000 megawatts. Don't clap. Clap. It is an example that it is possible to do. When we started fighting many other things that the structure didn't take care of, are the zones. You are coming from Lekki and you have something there about power, you know, and somebody goes there and destroy it, thinking that it's undoing Buhari, whereas it's undoing Lagos State and the power goes up. So you have a lot of sabotage, a lot of lack of knowledge, a lot of lack of information, which, again, if we know our environment is as toxic as that, technology will take care of it. There are technologies. There are technologies that take care of what we do rudimentarily. So perhaps that's the next step. Perhaps they will take on it. So we have things like power disruption, poor economic growth, unable to reverse the increasing poverty rates is going up. High energy costs, diesel. My husband was telling me paying diesel yesterday, it has gone up by about 8 naira. Poor access to capital and investment funds. And that's where I would like us to discuss Mr. Aino's paper, because all these things, where's the money for the people to get it in? Done. High unemployment, inflationary rates, wiping away consumer purchasing power, unpredictable and opaque regulatory environment. I want to stop there because I made the commentary. The regulatory environment is like a police, but it's not supposed to be a police. The auditor is like a police, but it's not supposed to be a police. It's supposed to correct and make sure you do it right, because it's about the people. It's about the people. So when you come and shake somebody, say, no, you are not doing this right. First warning. Second warning, we'll blacklist you. Fine. But you just were looking where the person will go wrong when he doesn't know the right thing to do. Tell him the right thing to do. If he does not do the right thing, then you do the right thing. So we have very unpredictable and opaque regulatory environment. Supply chain disruption, especially at ports, you all know the stories, of entry due to multiple agencies. It's there. I'm not telling anything you don't know. Yeah. You know it. Let's not close our eyes to it. We've been trying to clear trailers. Imagine that, to move trailers from a road. For how many months? I don't understand it. Extreme inequality. There's so much inequality. I need a biro. It costs 10 naira. If Mr. Brima can get it and I have my 10 naira, why do you hold it from me? I need to get it. That's equality, equity. Extreme inequality, significant economic disparities between the North and the South. Yeah. And we are laughing about it. We can't streamline our economy unless we balance the place. You have a poor family, you suffer in that family if you are a rich person. Yeah. You are deceiving yourself. You need to be able to be caring enough to say, what can we do to create a balance and move the system and make the environment more friendly to development? Because at the end of the day, the indices will speak for the country. Continuous security challenges, elevating uncertainties. The hostile business landscape has technically forced so many businesses to change their business models to remain alive. Just with say, I'm hanging on. That's what the young children, that's what my children, so I say, I don't want to hear that anymore. Hanging on, no, you have to be in. We don't want to hang on. Some have exiled the country for another smaller one, but more stable economies. This is also manifesting in dwindling FDI, foreign investment, now targeting other economies instead of Nigeria. I was telling my brother that if I have a house outside the country, I'll take off for the next 3 months. I've never reached that stage before. Overall, Nigeria's hard business landscape is ranked 131 out of the 190 economies of the recent World Bank Ease of Doing Business report. 131 out of 190, and yet your population is so high. So you can imagine the impact. You are low down there, and your population is so high, and your problems are enormous. I want us to be very patriotically thoughtful about it, so we can decide to do the little that we can, each and every one of us, when we leave this room, and influence others as well. So despite recent improvements in the ranking, it is still considered very poor as the country continues to perform below huge potentials, always potentials. The urgent task before government and economic managers, such as the one in this room, because I regard education as an economic manager. You bring out the people that manage the economy. So you are a manager. The education is a very critical thing, and yet we're on strike. We need to do a whole lot more to improve the economic fortunes and business landscape. I hope that at the end of this ULBS conference, we will also come up with genuine implementation inputs in our communique to support a new direction for the country. Let's put it out there. Somehow, somebody, somewhere, some state, some local government may listen to you, imbibe it, and move forward. We need to create value in these disruptive times. Create value. In any organization, value is always defined by customers, investors, employees, and stakeholders. For companies surrounded by economic uncertainty, mixed with a competitive and disruptive environment, creating value is a real challenge. The value creation process is at the heart of integrating thinking. And that's why I said we should be sober. We need to think. I know in my own faith, the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so he is. It is created through the organization purpose, strategy, and business model, while also considering all resources, capitals, all relationships in an integrated way. Just by design, I will finish, Professor Alo, in 20 minutes. I was counseling a young lady who has done very well, then fell down. And I was looking at her relationship. And I said to her, do you know that one of the greatest strengths that we have as Africans and Nigerians is the level with which our goodwill and trust builds a large economy beyond money. The trust and goodwill economy is an African-based economy. We need to develop it. It is only trust that makes me to meet you here today and come tomorrow. We met here. You take it like that. I need 1 million. And then you give it to me. You trust. You don't do that in Europe. Am I wrong? You can't do that. But here we do it. Let's build it. Let's build trust. Let's build the goodwill. And I told the lady, list all the people you have been talking to. Oh, this complaint. This. I said, you had goodwill. These people have come across you. But you have not endeared your heart to them so that the goodwill can grow stronger. People who have goodwill, who have built trust, they are richer than the people who have naira in the bank. It's a great economy. So value is created to customers and society through responsible and profitable products, services, and channels to market. It also requires delivering value at an appropriate price, and the word appropriate, price, cost, as well as an integrated and relevant strategic, operational, and risk management. We're always afraid to look at risk. If there's anything I've learned in banking, I love risk. That section, I love risk management. It actually shows you the future, where you are going. It didn't say don't go. It said you will meet this, you will meet this, you will meet that. You begin to walk towards it. You will meet them, but you will transcend them. But here, Africans are afraid of risk. You can't take risk, you can't move up. You can't take risk, you can't move forward. Sustained value is achieved by retaining and protecting value internally in the organization and distributing value externally to shareholders. You create, you distribute to shareholders and stakeholders. So there must be value to be created for people. It's a good thing so to do. Customers increasing sophistication in a disruptive environment places so much responsibility on business leaders to constantly deliver value. Today, there's less of brand loyalty. Ability to solve customers' problems is a convenient and creative manner is what attracts customers to a brand. Therefore, Business leaders must align company objectives and the ever-changing needs of a consumer in a creative, disruptive business environment to ensure long-term relevance and survival. You must endure. You must create value according to the pockets that you want to serve. It was Charles Darwin who said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change that survives." This is the one role a true business leader must get together. Now, let's look at adaptation and the way forward. Ways business leader can adapt to disruptive times. I'll run quickly. In today's business world, driven by innovations, global pandemics, macroeconomics issues, geopolitical tensions, regulatory changes, changing consumer preferences, etc., you can go listing them in that dimension. Adaptation is now the new competitive weapon. It's a weapon. Be ready to use it. In the last 10 years, the biggest disruptions are from the fintechs. We're also seeing disruptions in the healthcare, in insurance, in music, in e-commerce. You said it. You can see the list of the companies that you rated. All of them belong to this group. Clearly, for businesses to survive today, it is either you innovate. If you cannot innovate, adapt. If you cannot adapt, you die. I'm sorry, we will not die. No one business will die. I'm not sure there is any bulletproof methodology to protect businesses from the ongoing onslaught by the fintechs and other disruptive elements. And there's still more. Listening to him this afternoon, I said, these people want to have onslaught, we'll be ready for them. Nevertheless, the following are some of the ways business leaders can adapt. 1, define your raising the tar. This must be in alignment with customers' values, expectation always. Even governance has to be the citizenry expectation. Position your company as a unique business with unique products properly aligned to customers' needs. Continuously, the third one, and proactively scan the environment for future disruptive technology, and we have been blessed to give us a lot of data today. We will get that paper. Changing consumer needs, etc. As a business leader, we must understand the signs of time. Strong research and development units can help us, like you are doing, ULBS. Carry out scenario planning and analysis from time to time. This will help, especially in positioning for socio-economic and regulatory changes. And ULBS can do that for us, for various industrial sectors. They are dying, they need help. They need scenario planning, they need intervention. Develop a strong company's culture to survive in a rapidly digitalized and increasingly virtualized environment. This should be embedded in a strong communication strategy to carry out stakeholders. And our communication strategy is not that we'll just adopt what they have abroad. No. We have a peculiar environment. We need to adopt and adapt to it. Keep the team constantly engaged and ensure to win the talent war through job flexibility. Finally, my distinguished ladies and gentlemen, leaders of industry, now and in the future, let me emphasize that a true business leader must strive to create value even in times of uncertainty, as I said earlier on. Every organization has risen out of relative obscurity. Every organization, just like a baby that is born. You don't know a baby. You just see it's a beautiful baby. That's how every business is. But tomorrow that baby becomes a president. Every opportunity is in a newborn business. So in a world-class institution has history of navigating challenges, disruptions, and uncertainty. Strong visionary leadership is always at the heart of such growth or success. Potential leaders here and leaders, you must leverage your knowledge and experience. Engage those areas others have and you don't have. You must have an honest understanding of who you are. And that's where trust can come in, goodwill can come in. what you know and what you can do, what you cannot do, what you don't know. Get help. You should be able to adapt to changing realities and be ready to make key decisions. And I hope that at the end of this meeting conference, we will find answers to some of the questions below as we try to address fragments of the business environment and its connections to how organizations adapt to different systems following structures. How can values be created for stakeholders during disruptive times? We need answers. How can the business environment challenges be addressed in a holistic manner given our peculiarities? How can we keep the workforce continuously engaged in an increasingly virtualized world? How can we manage various contradictory forces in a disruptive and fast-paced business landscape? How can we ensure that the business lights are kept on and avoid the death knell during the disruptive times? I thank you very much. I know we have the answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Incidentally, you only exceeded your time by 5 minutes. So you did very well. You did very well. Another round of applause for her, please. Now, again, I'm sure we are taking notes so that we can engage the speakers later. Without wasting more time, I'd like to invite Dr. John Momo, OON, Chairman, Channels Media Group, to address us on the subtopic, the media as catalysts for innovation, entrepreneurship, and nation building. Please put your hands together for him. 20 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Hello. Well, good evening all. Let's get into, still afternoon actually, so we're still in good time. Good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks to Professor Shinubi for making sure that we're all here. Very distinguished personalities, captains of industry, people who have actually made a mark on the business landscape in Nigeria. One thing about speaking at this time after lunch is that we're a bit weary and we need to try and keep awake. I know that some of us were struggling to do that. So in order to shake us from the roots, greater Cokites. Yes. We're still sleeping. Greater Cokites. Yes. Absolutely, now we're awake. So thank you indeed. UBLS, and then there's this thing about this flyer that's been hovering around. I hope he's not one of the students because it's getting a bit of us. You know, UBLS is becoming a household name. And I dare say that in another 5 years, you're likely to be numero uno. So again, I'm very delighted. I don't have any slides. As you can see, the only slide that's there is my picture, so you could focus on it if you want. But I was asked to come and make some remarks, so I'll be delighted to answer questions if there are after my remarks. But suffice it to say that the presentations that have been made before me is enough for us to chew on, and it's good food for thought for every one of us, even though it came after food. But it's something, there was thought for food, we went to lunch, and then we came back and there was food for thought. So it's something that we should hold very close to our hearts and our chests and make sure that we look through all the points that have been given and we make sure that we imbibe the lessons that have been learned. The UBLS is in a vantage position to lead the drive to make the business landscape in Nigeria a great one. So I congratulate you, Prof, and your team, as I'm confident that the strength of the institution will keep growing. examining the media as a catalyst for innovation, entrepreneurship, and nation building fits our circumstances. The topic seeks to highlight the role of the media in providing impetus to the triumvirate ideas of innovation, entrepreneurship, and nation building. And it envisages the media's contributions and how they can be responsible for their sustenance and accentuates their value-adding role through information, education, entertainment, and awareness, and the sector's ability to flourish. Let me set a backdrop. I've been in media all my life. 45 years and counting. 4.5 decades in the industry. I'm saying this because you have to stay the course. I started this in 1977 in Ogun State, where I'd gone to do my A-levels, and that's how I forayed into broadcasting. After 2 years over there, I moved over to Lagos, spent another 5 years in Voice of Nigeria, the international service of the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, as a news anchor, producer, and presenter. And shortly afterwards, I thought that I wasn't getting what I wanted, and I was very hungry for more, so I went on to television. It's not actually right to say I went on to television. I was headhunted by my colleague then, Shola Omoli, who came to the radio house and said to me that, look, I need you to come to NTA. That Mike Enahoro, if you know the name, has retired. And we needed somebody not to step into his shoes because the shoes were so big, but somebody to come and help fill the vacuum, if possible. And I went into this. And after 10 years of working in NTA, I became very restless again. And it was time for me to move, but where do I move to? NTA was the network. There weren't private stations. The industry had not been deregulated. But I've always had that unction that one day I would like to set up a TV station. There were no satellites then, before then, when I was thinking about this. But satellites came just at the advent of the Gulf War. And I remember those days I used to go to the American Embassy and the British High Commission to go and collect tapes and watch all the recordings of the satellites from morning to night. And I used to do that with my girlfriend then, my wife today. And we'll sit down and watch television. We'll watch the video recordings and try to learn from it. You know, learn how reports are being made over there and how they're being filed, the lighting. And it's amazing how much you can learn from just sitting down in front of a TV and watching and not just watching the actors. And I still do that up to date. You could never watch the news sitting beside me because I see every flyer that goes across the screen. But shortly after that, after working in NTA for 10 years, I now left to set up a post-production service to service most of the producers who were coming in from the US, from the UK, from Canada, and they wanted somebody to be a fixer in Nigeria and to do the program. So I wrote to them and said, you don't need to come with the equipment. We have the equipment that you need. And so we worked with them. And shortly after that, the industry was deregulated. Now here was a newscaster who was on level 12, had not retired, but had resigned. And I applied and said I wanted to have, I want a license to set up a TV station. And of course I was laughed at. But fortunately, and I think by the grace of God, somebody said grace. So I got the license. I remember getting the license and my wife said, what next? Because to set up a TV station is not a child's play. And you know, we had the NTAs at that time. So we couldn't start. For 2 years, I went everywhere trying to look for money. TV was not on the radar of the banks. I went to the international organizations. They were looking at Eastern Europe at that time and said, Africa is not on our radar. The license was going to expire. So I devised a plan. I had a very good relationship with the British Council. I'm a Chiefling Fellow, and I'm in fact the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Chiefling. I was the president of Chiefling Alumni Association. I went to them and I said they should sponsor, that they should give us a grant to buy a transmitter. The transmitter, in fact, was slightly bigger than those books there. No, just half of the size of the books there stacked together. The transmitter that was being used by my competitors, some of the private ones who had come on the stream, were as long from this beginning of this door to the other door. And I was going to go and compete with them. So the analogy I always draw is that it was, first of all, I say it was audacious because I was being laughed at, vilified, and abused, and I was told I didn't know what I was doing. My colleagues then said I was crazy. Because it's like you want to go into a transportation business today, you go get a Keke Marwa, and then you go to a Kennedy Chuku and ABC Transport and say, I'm going to give you a run for your money. That's not going to work. I mean, they will look at you and say you're crazy. But of course, today the rest is history. Today we tower above, and at the risk of sounding immodest, above all our competitors and peer groups. And why did I tell this story? Because of the fact that in it I embedded the aspects and the ideas of innovation and entrepreneurship. Of course, there's that regulatory aspect that's always trying to stifle developments, as Dr. Awoshika said, which is ever so present and constant. But you know, the driving spirit and the resilience in the Nigerian is never say never. And this, as they say, to die is not in my portion. So the business must grow, it must germinate. So that's how we are today, the station that is the most awarded in Africa. 14 times out of 19, we've won the best station of the year. 19 times out of 19, we've been nominated as the best TV station of the year. 2 times we've been crowned the African best television station of the year. And that's on legacy television. On the digital platform, nobody comes close. The only ones who come close to us is Punch newspapers. We have 11 million viewers, followers on social media. 11 million. In the continent of Africa, Nigeria towers above the rest. On YouTube alone, we have over 2 million subscribers. And that's a record. So what it says, and this is coming from the analog days, but right from time, we knew that the digital was going to be something that we had to consider. And so we were one of the first people, if not the first, in Africa to embrace the World Wide Web. But we're the first in Africa, if not the world, to live stream 24 hours our signals on YouTube. So this is why today it's placed us in a position where it's not enviable because we have to continue to innovate, or like Kodak, you die from the inside. We heard about partnerships. Those have helped us to make sure that we get to where we're going, or where we are. And of course, we're very ubiquitous. We're on every platform that you can think of. So turn this way or that way, channels is staring at your face. So that's why examining the media as a catalyst for these triumvirate fits our circumstances. The topic seeks to highlight the role of the media in providing impetus to all these areas, and it envisages the media's contribution and how they can be responsible for their sustenance and accentuates their value-adding role through information, education, entertainment, awareness, and the sector's ability to flourish. The role of the media, of which I'm very proud to be part of, is multidimensional. It reflects results on a short and a long-term basis. The critical function of informing the populace is cardinal to innovation. It is cardinal to business and also to entrepreneurship. Information is the oxygen for knowledge and understanding. Knowledge and understanding are the basis for taking the right action. A state of knowing assumes we feed the mind with facts, with truths and occurrences. For the innovator, the business person and entrepreneur, these facts are processed and they're used to make the right decisions, which are the foundations for future success or failure. And in using appropriate media content, we're not just enlightened, but also have enhanced confidence. Business intelligence comes from the wide range of information provided by the media. They are an aggregation of news from local and global sources to keep consumers abreast of happenings in real time. The continuing revolution in communication technology has resulted in the pluralization of outlets and the overarching notion of digital and social media, so much so that information is now available at the speed of light on your fingertips with the capacity to shape social and power relations. In business relations, the ability to fetch facts from far-flung places can inform product quality, pricing, and marketing details, and eventually assist organizations to remain competitive. In performing this role, the media acts as the lubricant, helping visualizations and visioning with an ideal business person, which an ideal business person requires. For the innovator, the media is most critical. Innovations are happening every day. We've seen some of them that have been listed. While researches are far more unending, we have some of the professors in the room. Attention to these trends helps appreciate what studies are available or ongoing. And this information aids the researcher in discerning gaps or areas still needing attention, and it provides a sound foundation for progress and development using the media as a catalyst. The same situation applies to an entrepreneur against the need to be upbeat with ideas and initiatives for stability and sustainability. To be stable and consistent, you need to be attentive to trends and the possibility of new resourcefulness to renew customers' attention. And the capacity to do this is a function of awareness, not on a one-off basis, but continuously. And that's why we have 24/7 media services. The understanding is a byproduct of media activity for producing fresh insights harnessed from across distances and streamlined for decent consumption. Therefore, the entrepreneur needs the media for wits on the goings-on and the charting of renewed courses. So the media, we can say once more, asserts its very prime position of being a catalyst. It is catalytic. The media's vital role in innovation, in entrepreneurship and business is unmistakable for being a pivot. It is the tonic for progress, a bedrock for insights, and a foundation for the future, especially in the ideal sense of the word. This is historical as much as it is contemporary. And with the ongoing changes in communications, it will also be a fact in the future. Future? What's the future? Well, with the explosion of technology and the endless amount of data that society is generating, it is difficult to predict the future. Indeed, the future of the media. The media has been greatly disrupted, and we know so, precipitating competition and disorder. But the good news is that chaos, competition, and disorder are all antecedents of opportunities. We have said so, we have said it on the screen, with Dr. Shego now giving us a fantastic presentation. So today, as far as the media is concerned, we live in a world dominated by three hugely disruptive forces. Predictive content, you experience it every day. You type, and Google helps you to complete the sentence. Virtual reality. I don't know, for some of you have bought those big, giant eye goggles. And language barrier eradication. A future media organization will embody all three of these forces. We are at the dawn of a big data, machine learning, and big compute revolution. Dr. Aino mentioned the avatar. We don't know what's on us. It's huge, but we have to be ready. The media are now able to collect information, analyze them, and opine. So the future is now. And it lies with prediction. Consider this example. The launch of a high-speed train that takes you from Lagos to Kano in 2 hours. And for you to have a feeling of what it is, you wear those goggles, and you are able to see complete 360 degrees, the routes, the cabins, all the services that are being provided to give you the information that you need to take a decision whether you're going to be on it or not. And of course, think about a world where media has truly achieved the pinnacle of mass communication, the dissolution of language barriers that I alluded to. Not doing away with the national languages, our Yorubas, our EBM, our own dialects, Isako, and Hausa, and Igbo, and all the different languages, they still remain. But somebody in Idore Hill speaks to someone in Mongolia. You speak Idore dialects. It comes out to the Mongolian. You've seen some of this software. You speak to your phone, it translates. What's on us is that you speak in real time, and it's translated in real time. So these three disruptive forces of the media are not science fiction, even though when we were growing up, the mobile phones were science fiction. Don't know if you remember that. And we used to say Oje Marina. Some of us grew up in Lagos, that is not possible. And you see, you look at the wristwatch, and there's the picture, the video of the person you're talking to there. It was like it was never ever going to happen, and these are all wishful thinking. So what's the role of the media in growing entrepreneurs in Nigeria? As I try to wind down, because I know that time is fast spent. Many constitutions favor freedom of speech or the right to expression of opinion. The code books often also ask the media to be dutiful in the business of informing, educating, and entertaining as a step towards serving the people's right to know. Because knowing provides the basis for awareness, intelligence, and a conscious populace. And a conscious populace, a conscious population, is a trigger for growth and development. As far as the North and some parts of the South is concerned, we've not achieved that. And that's why it's unfortunate that people read the Quran upside down and do not get the real meaning of what the Quran says, or the Bible upside down, do not get the real meaning of what the Bible says, and do a different thing entirely. But the media's role is to try and educate the people. Our gaze into the future can, after all, be seen from this different perspective. One is that the media could provide the foundation upon which good governance can be built. The second is to venture into the future based on our belief or lack of it in our efforts at improvement. And the third is to envisage a continuous expansion of communication technologies far beyond the domains of the industrial West to other territories, including Africa, and for a good capital to be made out of them. The fourth is to believe that Africa's future, social, economic, and political sectors will improve and consequently rub off on the media. And the fifth is that the philosophical faith is the inevitability of change. And the change to anticipate is a positive one, which relies on the sustenance of media and for governments to be more efficient. These perspectives may not be exhaustive, but they could be representative enough to enable a broad view of the subject matter of media and entrepreneurship growth. The point is that the future is a place ahead of us. We do not just have to arrive at this place only for its sake. We have to reach well in addition. The option of coming well emanates from our inefficient past, which reflectively speaking can be made better through the entrepreneur who are here and those who are coming behind, working in league with the media. We now have smartphones which empower us, all the information at our fingertips. And often what I say at gatherings to young people who are aspiring to go into business is ask yourself the question, what kind of business? What's my business niche? What's my business model? And the last question is, does it work with my phone? If the answer is yes, thumbs up and kudos to you. If the answer is no, look for another business. Thank you very much indeed.
We thank Dr. John Momo for that very inspiring presentation. I wonder what would have happened if he had PowerPoint slides. You kept us alive and awake without any slides. Can we give him a round of applause, please? Now, we are moving to the last presentation, but not the least by any means. And we're going to be listening to Mr. Adebroimo, the Group Managing Director of Alpha Morgan Capital, talking to us on succeeding in disruption. I like the point Dr. Aina made earlier on that it doesn't discuss challenges and opportunities. It discusses challenges in opportunities. So I'm sure Mr. Brahma is going to take us through how we can succeed in disruption. Please put a hand together for him. Again, he has 20 minutes. I must say that Dr. Momo kept to his time, only 2 minutes more. You did very well. Okay.
Anyway, still good afternoon. My name is Adebroimo. I happen to be the Group Managing Director at Alpha Morgan. Usually very difficult to speak after 4 great doctors. Dr. Aina, OFR, Dr. Awushika, MFR, Dr. John Momo, OOL. Anyway, maybe the federal government will recognize me. And I decided to combine the 3. I'm going to be wearing the cap of my pastoral job here to engage everybody. It's going to be an interesting 20, 22 minutes discussions, and I'm sure all of you will really enjoy it. The Jews say, when a pastor is preaching after bishops, what do you want to say? One of our mothers say, God, there is God. I want to thank the school authority. I want to thank Professor Oluwatoyin Okudipe. Nice man, quiet, nice man. I want to thank Professor Shinobi. It's my pleasure to be here. I want to thank all the speakers. Thank you. I took note of everybody, and I'm going to begin to use after this meeting. Lastly, when Dr. John Momo was speaking, it's like he was reading my presentation, and I was just smiling. And my colleague was giving me thumbs up. I'd like to announce publicly that I admire your channel. My competitor got to you before us, but we are going to get there. I want you to take it that today you've one additional client that will enjoy your 13 million followership at social media and the traditional channel news. There's actually 10 o'clock part of your news that we are targeting, and I'm not going to say it publicly. I'm sure you give us discount. Thank you so much for what you are doing for the media. Now let's go to my presentation. Succeeding in disruption. Can anybody actually succeed in disruption? Yeah, the truth is yes, you can succeed. And that's what I'm going to be discussing. This thing should succeed though. Which one should I use? Okay. This is Nigeria. Anyway, while we're waiting for them, I told my colleague, let me have my laptop so that this thing don't mess us up. The outline, have introduction. Yeah. Yes, good. Introduction. I'm going to talk about monopoly, can be disrupted, characteristics of disruptors, call to actions, succeeding in disruption, Afamagan strategies, and the conclusion. Monopoly, a market in which there are many buyers but only one seller. Exclusive control or possession of something. When you have a monopoly, you can ask for any price you like. It can either be natural, it can either be geographic, technological, or government related. Leaders with monopoly tendency tend to overlook disruption. They don't pay attention to new entrants. They look down on competitors and imitators. They disregard and ignore them and their relevance. Monopoly is not forever anymore. It has gone forever. Highly movers with evaporating advantages that lasted over time, you are just an innovator. The new hungry entrants, they are imitators. Imitators are usually very cheap. They do lighter things, smaller things. They do it very fast. Initially, it might not be too perfect, but usually getting better. We call them disruptors. Disruptors are everywhere, and they are growing daily. The old businesses do business old ways, with many regulations, huge overheads, long processes, procedures, and bottlenecks. New businesses, they do business in new ways. Less regulations, less stringent conditions, few hands with machines, and speed. See the traditionalists, the black cabs. For you to be able to drive, you need to pass and pass and pass. But Uber came, swept them off. Look at our own local yellow cab. Look at the man resting on it. There to get a taxi, they are like small God. But Bolt bolted them away, and Okada came, and Marwa too. They have been disrupted. The NIPOs, our almighty NIPOs, UPS, DHL, they've all been disrupted. Yahoo Mail, WhatsApp, GIG Logistic, and Okada. Who can be disrupted? Anything and everything susceptible to disruption. Businesses with high infrastructure, high cost of human capital, large branch network, any business in banking, telecoms, transportation, TV, newspaper, photography, schools, politics and governance, everything including medical, they are going to be disrupted, and you are available for disruption. I'll start with politics and politicians. Not too young to run, they are disrupting the old politicians. Women inclusion, they are unseating the boys. Gender balancing, reducing the seats in the National Assembly and everywhere. YPP in Sierra Leone is called Young People's Party. In Nigeria, it is called Young Progressive Party. They've started winning seats. They are disrupting the old ones. You have the SDP, etc., etc. Banking, PSSP, Flutterwave, Interswitch, Paystack, SPay, PSB, MTN, they just licensed all of them. Money agents, even in food, Guaranteed Trust Bank is displacing the food sellers. Before you go to eatery to eat, but these days, you can buy anything through their platform. They recently organized a food show and fashion show. They are disrupting that market. They are no more bank alone, they are now food sellers. E-commerce. Uber is disrupting the food industry too. Hotel, hospitality, cinema. I will not waste time over that. Netflix, right? The churches, the online services, including night vigils, communion, your tithe and something, they are all done online. Therefore, the churches themselves, they are getting disrupted. Advert, newspaper, media, he told us there's a confusion. Online newspaper, influencers, online TV with no staff and address. And they're the one that will post the most damaging information because you can't catch them anywhere. They are disrupting that business. Music and entertainment, TikTok, Instagram, short video, comedy, etc. Even medicine, Doctors Without Borders. Yesterday, I wanted to book an appointment to see a dietitian. The woman sent a mail to me by 2 a.m. that I said, send your address. He said, don't worry, we'll do online. The landlords, they are disrupted because she does not need to lease any property. Photography, smartphone, everyone now, we are photographers. We are filmmakers. We are editors. We edit it, we direct it, we produce it, on our phone and our computer, and we'll post it. And Instagram will do the rest. Disruption, everything and everyone will be disrupted. Who can be disrupted? According to McKinsey report, the electric vehicles landscape is rapidly changing. In the coming years, there will be many more EVs taken to the road, to the sea, even the sky, including flying taxi. In the US, the EVs sales have climbed by 40% since 2012. Tesla's, this is the range of their share price, $546 to almost $1,000, with market capitalization of almost about $763 billion. By 2035, the largest automotive markets will be fully electric. There is a disruption coming there. Identifying warning signal of disruption. Internally, when you begin to experience high staff attrition, like Dr. Aino said, right? Ex-staff competing with you, you begin to know that your business is about to be disrupted. Externally, if you are in a business where there is little or low entry restriction, there is no need for big capital outlay and expertise. Your business, you don't need to be in a particular place to provide the service to people, just like what the Andela people are doing. They recruit engineers from everywhere and they post them and they are in Nigeria and they are working. Non-regulated business, your business is not licensed. You don't need license to start what you are doing. You are susceptible. Low requirement of research, patent and quality control. Free entry and unrestricted inflows of new entrants, like the clubhouse, you are going to be disrupted. Now, if you're in a product where there are growing substitutes and alternatives, like generator, solar panel is dealing with them. Petrol vehicle, we have discussed that. Cameras and smartphone, everything is about to be disrupted. But there is still, okay, let me take you through the characteristics of disruptor. They're usually very aggressive, with cost reduction of free service. They have low OPEX, low headcounts. They lack physical presence or offices, usually with laptop and fast-growing data acquired delay. Initially, quietly, while pretending to be a problem solver or solving an identified problem or value, or they want to ease, or they want to reduce the long and solve a age-long problems. They will pretend to be very cheap. They're not structured. They don't have brand equity from day one, but building users, building data, and building followers. They will shorten the processes using untested and unregulated technology solutions. They are quick in their decision making. The whole company will take decision. You go to ESCO, from ESCO to this one, they are taking their decision. They target the cash flow, the value chain, and they want to capture the wallet, everything. They usually start as your client. They will say they want to leverage on your license. At the end of the day, they will become competitor. They are in competition with you. That is that is the tendency. In our own space, these are some of the faces of the people disrupting the business. You have the Flutterwave, the Paystack. We all know FMDQ, disrupting the Nigerian Stock Exchange, now NGS. You have NSD2, now disrupting what they are doing. Even the FMDQ has a company called FMD Clear, disrupting what CS that have been doing for almost 50 years, what they are doing. Disruption is everywhere. And what I'm trying to say is, prepare your mind for disruption. Just prepare for it. Now, there are some calls to action. Don't be afraid of disruption. Take the battle to the enemy camp. Understand globalization can be a disruption. Get your business ready for global recognition and get it reasonably recognized in readiness to disrupt or to destabilize the disruptor. If you cannot go, send someone. If it will become a major distraction, invest in a leader or the leader of disruption for your footprint and to delay the action from coming to come and attack you. I'm saying it again. If you cannot go, send someone. I will explain further. Incursion into new businesses, looking away from traditional comfort and leveraging brand value to disrupt other for alternative cash flow. Look at Meccano. We all grew up to know Meccano. All they do is they sell generator. They have gone into power generation. I was shocked that they're actually in construction, they are in medical, and they're even selling cars now. And they call the car Shelly or whatever, Gelly or something. A lot of people, we are ignoring them, but they are tapping another cash flow from another sources to position their name, leveraging on the brand Meccano. The same thing with Genesis. I wanted to go, I was tired sitting. I wanted to go and watch a film. And I was just driving. And I now saw Genesis Tonguesha, I branch. Say, what are they doing here? They say it's food. Suddenly I noticed that Genesis is now Genesis Restaurant. Because there's a value chain. When you go to the show, you buy popcorn. They don't sell popcorn alone now. They sell something else. Instead of selling popcorn alone, let's sell other things. They have restaurant. Disruption. FMA is Funds Manager Association of Nigeria, which we belong to. They believe that the money we are contributing as members cannot take them anywhere. They formed something called FMA Academy. They are now training, they are now schools, training for us in our industry. Ready-made, tailor-made. Disruption, you have to succeed in it. Look at Guarantee Trust Bank. I've discussed that. I've discussed the MTO, the telcos too. Capturing the entire chain. Call to action. Differentiating your business from the crowd. What people are doing now in our sector is when you have a lot of money, right? You don't stay running microfinance or running asset management alone. You metamorphose into something big that you can capture more cash flow. Invest in robust distributive blockchain ledger technology. This will position the business to reach and build new direct relationships and grow client base. Invest in technology that will enable your business service and be noticed by millennials and everyone. Don't run a business that those younger ones will not patronize. Your business will be disrupted. Now, let me tell you, succeeding in disruption, our strategy. This is very interesting, and I want you to listen, and I'll finish very soon. Alpha Morgan Holco. In 2012, like Oga was saying, Dr. John Memo, when we started, we discovered we cannot win or compete with the industry leaders. We identified them, ARM, Meristem, Chapel Hill, United Capital, etc. We decided to just hide. We started playing balance sheet game. Thereafter, we play shareholders game. I don't want to mention publicly because this is online, our shareholders fund as of today. I'm not sure some of these banks that in their first 1 year, their shareholders fund cannot be as big as ours. That's the truth. But we were hiding so that we don't get disrupted because we actually wanted to disrupt people. We joined the branding game. Daily appearance in business, if you pick your picture, all the executives, they will see it there. Alpha Morgan will give them their cross rate because that's what is important to them, and the price of produce, just quietly. We now started adopting media so that people will give back to society. We adopted 1,000 to Babish and Osborne Kingsway Road. And we put our name there for sleepless, subtle adverts. They don't sleep. But people see it. Yes, we are still hiding. Then we went into radio adverts with hourly time share. Then TV as selectively. You will see in this presentation. And luckily, the chairman has told me now that he will give me discount. Because that 10 o'clock fight, we will all fight it together. That is it. We introduced the quarterly web. We spoke to Bismarck, one of the leaders in that sector, responsible, respectable. And he started talking for us because we couldn't join the Lagos Business School. They refused to admit me. He said, okay, if you don't admit me, me too, I will create my own. He started talking to us every quarter, last Tuesday of every quarter. We had 500 attendees in the last one. The next one will be Tuesday, 28th of June. You can link in. You can join. We are still hiding. We started attracting, retaining the best brains and best hands in the industry and in the banks. Still not noticed. We started building our counterparties, started trading big in the fixed income space. We joined the issue house game. We joined the issue. We were appointed by Lagos State to raise the last 500 billion they did, became 13. We joined Edo State, became third, to raise that 25 billion. We obtained our maiden rating. They said we are BBB minus, investment grade. We are happy. We said, okay, this financial, people will not respect it too much if it is Ade and Ade and Co. We called Deloitte. They're actually in our office now, auditing our 21 year. If you give it to you, you cannot fault it anymore. We are still hiding. We became the second largest shareholder in Nigerian Stock Exchange. They call them NGS PLC. We are still hiding. We acquired an headquarters in Osborn Kingsway Road quietly so that we can prepare ourselves to fight the banks for deposit business. We are still hiding. As a disruptor, right, you must hide. We are not noticed yet. Why am I telling you this story? Disruptors are not sleeping. Disruptors, the people that will disrupt your business, they're not sleeping. We're not sleeping. Other people they didn't pay attention to us, but suddenly we have now become a leader in the industry and too big to fail. That is the truth, right? They are getting grants and getting stronger daily with new things. You too should start doing something new and unusual things. They are making noise. You too make your own noise. The war in the local oil supply has already been won. Dangote has built the refinery. Building refinery is not the issue. How are you going to sell? He has already concluded that quietly for the distribution. Don't ignore this. Take the battle to their ground. They can be crushed, they can be delayed, they can be silent, but they cannot be stopped forever. They will come for you. Can anyone say we are small now? We are not. We fought all the balance sheet, everything, counterparty, branding, profitability. As of today, we have about 120,000 square meters of land in this Ikoyi, Lekki, Victoria Land, and VI in our land banking. We are still hiding. That is the truth. What we did with disruption. If you will not go, like I said, send someone. In the technology payment gateway, we invested from foundation in CBN licensed PSP business called SP Business Solution. We are having 48% of it. It was licensed, that company was licensed about a month ago. Because our license will not allow us to go and play there, we'll send something. They will compete with Wave. They will compete with Paystack, Interswitch, and Number. In POS, payment, and bills, and everything. In consumer market, we are not allowed to create loan, except structured loan. Right? We went and we are acquiring a major shareholding in a licensed finance house to compete with fast credit, do SME loans. We are in one of the universities, we are supporting them. But the students are just walking past. They're not doing anything with us. But with this, they'll be able to put their little savings with us and borrow money from us. You must bank the value. We now created Alpha Morgan Invest. One is an application. We are allowed to collect money from people. We are using our license as portfolio and funds manager to run this, to compete with Piggy Bank and use it to distribute 120,000 square meters of land that we have. Disruption is real. Who are we? We started just 2012. These are what we have achieved. We have a year of about 120 million. I've told you about our rating. We have almost about 100 staff, Lagos and Abuja. We're training. We were still hiding. We do asset management. Money together, dollar and naira, and we invest it in asset classes. We are still hiding. Now, as I conclude, Our vision is just to be one of the leading investment banks in Africa and train people and provide them to the industry. Try to be professional. We don't give bribe. We don't take bribe like where we were trained in Guarantee Trust Bank, and try to satisfy our clients. We have 3 companies: Alpha Morgan Advisory, Alpha Morgan Capital, the parent company, and a stockbroking business. What is the future? We want to metamorphose into banking group so that money can be coming from them. We want to be listed on the stock exchange. But our leaders, they don't know. Because as a disruptor, you must hide. So that by the time you are out, you are becoming too big to be destroyed. But if you make too noise early, they will crush you. This is our to society. We won this award 2016. People begin to notice, I think these people are doing something interesting. They gave us another nomination 2017. They noticed us finally. They said investment banking institution to watch in 2016. United Capital, they put us by the side, FCMB, RMB Merchant Bank, and that is the little Alpha Morgan that they put there. This is what I told you that we give with every day in the business day. You will see it there. Just this subtle publication. And suddenly, somebody says suddenly. Last week, they said Alpha Morgan ranked among the fastest growing companies in Africa. Wow. From Financial Times International, we are not hiding again. They said we are the financial service sector, 7th in Nigeria and 22nd in Africa. We cannot hide again. And okay, don't worry, I've told you I'm your next customer. Yeah. I'm finishing in 2 minutes. Don't worry, I'll finish in 2 minutes. But you need to listen to this. I don't know whether if you play. Yeah, play, yeah, just press it. Put a slideshow. Put slideshow. Just go to. Conclusion. This is my conclusion. Disruption is very close to your business. It is real and it has come to stay. The era of no rival, monopoly has gone forever. Do not ignore disruption and disruptors. 30 years ago, the old banks, Union Bank, UBA, First Bank, and others, they ignored and waved aside. Don't mind those Guarantee Trust Banks. They say innovation, they don't know anything, excellent service. Guarantee Trust Banks, any bank. Today, they are the leaders with trillions of assets and shareholders under control. The younger banks then produce smartest bankers running mega banks and investment banking firms like Alpha Morgan and Access Bank. Ring-fence your business, capture your entire value chain and total wallet. Take the battle to the enemies. Take it to the account. Do what the disruptors are doing. Copy them. No crime in doing it better than them. If you will not go, this is the 3rd time I am mentioning it. Send someone. You don't want to put your name, use your name to attack them. You don't want to carry your name, put money. Buy the leader in the industry. If you don't buy them, right, before you acquire, if you don't buy them, they will come and acquire you. And doctor said it, that the smaller banks, the startup Fintech, they are acquiring the microfinance. The unicorn will start acquiring the big ones. Therefore, go and put money there so that you will not be swallowed. Monopoly is not forever anymore. Disruption is a tsunami. Where is Kodak? Dr. John says so. Be prepared. Ignore disruption at your risk. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Very interesting presentation. Can we put our hands together for him again? Once again, I think we should commend ULBS for attracting this array of speakers. You can see differences in presentation style, differences in background, and uniqueness in the experience, practical experiences they shared with us. Now, the time we have to ask questions and make comments has been reduced to 30 minutes. So please, if you have comments or questions to make, put up your hand so that I can count those who want to comment. Just raise your hand. If you want to, okay, one. Any other person? Okay, let me take the microphone to you. Please make it sharp and straight to the point. Any one of them can answer, but if you have any specific direct question, just mention the person.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a very wonderful session we've had and very enlightening. I wanted to pose this question to Dr. Shegun, who spoke on fintech. And a very germane issue is around corporate governance, which you mentioned. And as much as we sold the narrative around, fintech, the role they are playing in disruption, I also don't want this to be lost on us that there are a lot of issues with corporate governance in many of these firms. For instance, I'm sure you know that a lot of them, in fact, there have been issues around fake fintechs. Because, this sort of pressure around, this disruption by this fintech has led to a lot of people investing in these firms. If you pay attention to social media, it is rife with a lot of news of people who have lost money to many of these people. And many of them, this mad rush for capital in these firms, has also been something that people have lost really their lifetime income on these things. And the news is a lot on the social media. I don't know how to say this in a way that I don't rub off on the firm, but even some of the big names, I'm sure he knows what I'm talking about, also enshrined in corporate governance issues. So it's good to talk about the disruption that they bring, but I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that regulators, I know you would have access to them. We also progress without some sort of control can be very deadly, and systemic if we're not careful about that. So I'd just like that you use your good office to advance this course. You can't have a 26-year-old boy accessing millions of dollars without teaching him some form of control. So I think that's a very big issue I wanted to speak on. And then also too, in your role in advocacy, on them solving real problems. We can't have 250 fintechs, teaching us how to pay money in the same way. There are a lot of human issues that they can solve. The goal mustn't be everyone must be doing a fintech, if you understand what I mean. So it can be solving different social problems. And there are a lot of social problems. Dr. Diri spoke about a lot of problems in the country. So these tech companies can be solving social problems, real problems that will make humanity and Nigeria a better place. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Any other comment or question? Okay. I think I would pass the microphone to Dr. Ainon, then I will make my concluding remarks, and I will draw the curtain on this session.
Yes, thank you very much. That was a very great remarks. You said it all. In every business, either disruptor or regular business or traditional business, governance is very key. And we've seen that some of the new entities, and it's not far-fetched in terms of the experience level and exposure of funders. And one of the messages that we are passing out today for fintech that are growing is that the same idea or energy or values that you have to create a company, will not be the same that you need to run a much bigger company. And that is why experience has shown Microsoft and so on of this world at a certain stage where you know that you do not have the managerial skill to lead those companies anymore. Engage professional managers to run it for you while you continue to be the thinking the sounding board for those businesses. So as our fintechs, our new entities are growing, management and whatever board they have must recognize that. The fact that you are a co-founder does not mean that you have to be perpetually the CEO, because you may not have the experience to run a much bigger company. The second thing I want to say in terms of some of the things you have said, yes, we have digital lenders, digital investments, that have defrauded a lot of people. Well, it's not because they are fintech, it's because that is, we've had MMM and all this. So it's like digitizing the MMMs. So it's nothing new. It's just the digital that has made it difficult. Some of the emergencies that we are seeing that have some ethical issues are, those digital lenders, the way they harass their, customers and so forth, all sorts of unethical things. All those have been addressed because it's not, because it's not part of corporate governance. But as we move on, we are seeing a lot of companies addressing that in line with what I've said earlier. For instance, one of the biggest fintechs in the world, Stripe, they recently, about a year ago, invited Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England. He also was the former governor of the Bank of Canada, to the board of that company. And there was a reason for that, so that at least they can provide some insight. Even here in Nigeria, Flutterwave, the chairman is Dr. Tulilemo, used to be deputy governor, in Central Bank. So the more of such experienced people as we have on those boards, the better we will see in terms of the governance issues and challenges that you have seen. I think let me stop at that point.
Thanks a lot. I'll give Dr. Osika the microphone for a minute if she has anything else to add from the discussion that have taken place.
Thank you, Mr. Law. Again, I just want to say that as we live here, let's put faith to action. If you did believe in what has been said and we all enjoy it, let's get more results and let's get PS really showcasing solutions to our youths and even existing companies so that we can move forward. And to me, that's the role of the university. Several years ago, precisely in 1982, when I went for my PhD, I didn't know that I was a Nigerian student. But when the professor called me that we give you this area, we don't give such areas to foreign people, but we will give you. We want to see what you can do. I was angry. I said, what is this thing? But when the work progressed, he said, you need to sign a document. I found out that the job was a solution to industry. The research was a solution to industry. And so when they started seeing results, I needed to sign to them not to publish. So, and I signed. And the drug is in the market, but by a Nigerian. So but I can't take it because I signed that it's intellectual property, and all of that. So I'm saying this to say that we have quite a lot of solutions to give out there from ULBS. And there's room, great room, to be able to drive Nigeria for today and tomorrow with what we've had in the various sectors that I've spoken today. So I'm looking forward to this solution. I'm hopeful. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. 1 minute for Dr. Momo.
Any last question? Well, I just want to say that this has been quite an exciting session, and we've got so many takeaways. It's not often that you come to a conference and you get this kind of takeaways and the lessons that we've been able to pick up and learn. We put them into practice. One thing I just like to say is we should make sure that the notes that we've taken today are put into action, because it's a continuing story. The journey never stops. There's nothing like a success. You get there, you disrupt the curve again, and you start all over again. And that will make you a great man. It's a moving target. Success is a moving target. So you keep shooting at it. UBLS, ULBS. Well done. Bravo. Once again, kudos, and all the members of the team. And as is often, Pastor, I'll steal your line. God bless you all.
Well, it's been a pleasure for me chairing this session, and I hope you've learned a lot and you've enjoyed some of the wonderful insights that our speakers have shared with us. I'm sure when ULBS is going to run the second international conference, it will be bigger than this, it will even be richer than this. This is a very good start. I commend them. And I'm sure that going forward, they will do some of these things that people are talking about. The business school should be an incubator for ideas and create innovation. And one thing they have going for them is the massive goodwill that University of Lagos has. Any department, any unit in that university that is not tapping into that goodwill is just wasting its time. So ULBS, you have a lot of goodwill to tap into, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Several takeaways, like you said, sir. Success is a moving target. I'm a scientist. I understand targets. I understand accuracy. I understand the pinhole, and this resonates with me. Also, when you are beginning to be disruptive or going against the destructor, you need to hide. Thank you, sir. Those two things, I'm going away with them. I want to say a big thank you to Mrs. Ibukwa Woshika in absentia. Thank you very much. We also went away with a lot of nudges from her. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Shegwa, thank you very much, sir. I was a bit confused, but truth be told. But then, quite a lot of our children are in that field. So I would tell them everything you have said. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our mama, Dr. Mrs. Deria Woshika, thank you very much, as usual and as always. I sing a little bit. The singing community missed a voice, but it's nice the voice is in the media. Dr. John Momo, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much. Mr. Adebrahima, I shall hide henceforth until I emerge and I get featured on Arise. It's a pleasure to have you this evening, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Please let's give them all a round of applause. It's been a wonderful evening. I say a big thank you. It's a beautiful afternoon well spent. Yes or yes? Yes. Thank you very much. Please let's do it again. Give them another round of applause. I'll crave your indulgence that we move near this place for a beautiful photograph for the plenary session speakers, so that this can actually go into history. The first sets of speakers, the first international conference of ULBS. Thank you. Sorry, the women are affirmative. It's 35%. She can't be by the side.